I'm Felix Mitchell. I'm co-founder and director of Instant Impact, which is the UK's leading intern and graduate recruitment agency. I would say the most important lesson that I've learned in our sort of journey so far is that people are the most important part of any business. Not only that, but hiring the right people is only half the battle. The next part is developing them in the right way, making them into the employees that you really need them to be. And then the final part, and maybe even the most tricky part, is retaining them for the long term. So every new role that you hire into, you shouldn't look at that as just filling the role. You should see that as filling a future path within the company. For the individual who's listening to you when you're making the offer, they should not only know their immediate roles and responsibilities, but what the next job for them within the company is, what their options are in the future, and where you see the company going as a whole. Another really easy thing to do is to really make your employees feel valued. A number of easy ways to do that. You can invest in training, whether that's internal or external. You can invest in increasing their knowledge of business as a whole or of your industry by bringing in speakers. Or you can put something in place like a share option scheme that makes them feel valued and part of the company. One of the really important things with a share option scheme is to certainly not underestimate how difficult that is to do. I think our own journey, what we did was we promised about a year ago that we would put a share option scheme into place before we'd really done our research and try to do it ourselves. And despite all of the information that's available on the government's website, we actually ended up taking over a year to do it. And what we did eventually, which is what we wish we'd done in the beginning, was hire a solicitor who is the very best. He literally wrote the book on share option schemes. He took it out in our meeting. So as we moved from a startup to becoming a growth company, we realized very quickly that we had to become really serious about retention. And that we had to treat that as an active process rather than something that happened just as being the excitement of being part of a startup company. So we did a number of things. First of all, we hired an HR manager to start making the way that we treated our staff and the way that we developed them a much more professional, systematized process. The second thing is we started really thinking about the way that we trained our staff. So we've always been very good at training staff to do their job very well, but what we've done now is develop 16 courses to teach them core business skills that develop them as a general employee. So that's things that help them on a day-to-day basis, and it would be whatever job they're doing. Things from time management, meeting skills, negotiating and influencing, all the way up to Excel and PowerPoint. And that's gone down really, really well, and people feel like they're being invested in, and they're really, really grateful for that, and it has a really positive effect on the company as a whole. To address the question that maybe we're developing them up so that they can be better employees for other companies, is the only thing worse than you training people up and them leaving to go to other companies is you not training them up and them remaining in your company. Directors growing a company have to come to a realization, which is that losing talent is incredibly expensive. And it doesn't matter what you do and how short your training process is, getting someone up to 100% productivity is a torturous task, and you lose the productivity of someone that would have stayed if they do leave. So the first thing is really, really accepting it as one of your core business priorities. The second thing, and I guess following on from that, is you really need, it's not going to happen overnight. Getting good retention levels is not going to just happen. What you really need to do is make a senior member of staff responsible for improving retention. So the one thing we would have done differently is recognize the fact that our company was going to grow and was going to transition. So we started off hiring people that were really excited to work for a startup and not that excited to work for a recruitment company. And then the moment that we stopped being, well, we still are, but the moment we stopped being as structureless and as exciting and as like crazy things happening at the same time of a startup, and started being like a place of work where people come in and do a job, albeit a young, fun, vibrant environment to work in. Those people that were really enthused by the startup atmosphere started thinking, actually, do I want to be a recruiter for the rest of my life? So if I had one piece of advice that was really wide-ranging for people, is don't just employ people who are interested in the startup journey. because by nature of that interest, they'll either leave you for another startup when you get too big and successful, or they'll go and start something up themselves. And it's just another way to lose people. You should hire people who are both interested in working for a small company and working in the industry that your company exists within. So well, it was interesting because what we'd done is we'd hired 3 or 4 people while we were still in startup mode, with the thought process that actually we could develop them over 6 months, they'd do some work for the company, and then they'd leave and it would be fine. What happened is that they all stayed for a little bit more than that. We trained them up, they became incredibly productive members of staff, and then they left, and we started not being able to deliver on work that we'd won. And that was the real spark point. That was the light bulb moment where we just thought, there is nothing more important.